Welcome to Goosebumps. Welcome back, my friends, to chapters 3 and 4 of Slappy Birthday to You by R.L. Stine. Now remember to pay close attention to the story because you will have an activity at the end and you're going to need to know the information to answer those questions. Let's get started with chapters 3 and 4. Ow! Ian shut his eyes and screamed as his entire head throbbed in pain. He felt a trickle of blood drip from his nose. Screaming again, he grabbed Johnny by the throat and began to shake him. Hey, stop! It was an accident! An accident! Johnny cried. Vinny tried to pull the two boys apart, but Ian swung his elbow and bumped him off the front stoop. I swear it was an accident, Johnny insisted. I was knocking on the door. Miss Barker appeared. Didn't you see the sign by the driveway? This is a no-fight zone. Ian let go of his cousin and breathed hard, retreated a step. Johnny scowled, rubbing his throat. An accident, he repeated. Ian, why is your nose bleeding? His mom asked. It was an accident, Johnny said again. I knocked an Ian instead of the door. Miss Barker gave Ian a gentle push. Go get some tissues. You don't want to bleed on your birthday cake. She stepped aside so Johnny and Vinny could enter the house. No fights today, guys, she said. Let's have a nice, peaceful party. What kind of tortilla chips do you have? Vinny asked. The question took her by surprise. Tortilla chips? Do you have nacho cheese? Vinny asked. Johnny and I didn't have breakfast. The two large boys lumbered toward the kitchen. Do your parents let you have tortilla chips for breakfast? Miss Barker asked, following them. They don't care what we have, Johnny said. They sleep late. They just tell us to grab something. Molly appeared outside the kitchen. Yo, Molly, how's it going? Vinny said. He reached out a big hand and mussed up his hair. He and Johnny laughed. I just finished brushing it, Molly grumbled. Looks awesome, Vinny said. He snapped his fingers over her nose. Ow, you jerk face! Molly punched him hard on the shoulder. He grinned at her. Hey, no fighting, it's Ian's birthday. He mussed up her hair with both hands. Johnny pushed past them into the kitchen. Whoa, cupcakes! He cried. He grabbed one off the tray and shoved the whole thing into his mouth. Any good? Vinny asked. He slapped his brother on the back, and a big glob of cupcake came flying from Johnny's mouth and landed on the floor. Both boys broke into loud hee-haws. You two are a riot, Molly said. Vinny grabbed a cupcake and bit off the icing. He put the rest back on the tray. Miss Barker lifted the tray, swung it away from the boys, and carried it to the breakfast table. Let's save the cupcakes till later, she said. I have a chocolate ice cream cake for Ian, too, his favorite. I hate chocolate, Vinny said. It gives me diarrhea. Molly rolled her eyes. Thanks for sharing. Ian returned to the kitchen with a wadded-up tissue stuck in his one nostril. He had decided to force himself to be cheerful and ignore the punch in the face. He really wanted to get along with his cousins today. What's up with you guys? He asked. Johnny had a little trouble in school, Vinny said. He patted his brother on the shoulder. He got caught stealing. Do you believe it? Miss Barker gasped. Stealing? Really? Johnny? No way, Johnny insisted. I didn't steal that girl's iPad. I borrowed it. I guess she didn't hear me ask. Miss Barker narrowed her eyes at Vinny. Vinny, that's serious. Why are you grinning like that? Vinny shrugged. Just grinning. You know, it's kind of funny. No, it isn't, Miss Barker said. She turned to Johnny. So what happened? No big whoop, Johnny replied. He avoided her eyes. I returned it and everything was okay. He gave Vinny a hard shove. Do we really have to talk about it? Vinny raised both hands in surrender. Okay, I was just saying. Johnny started opening cabinet doors. Where are the tortilla chips, Aunt Hannah? I thought I'd save them for lunch, she answered. Why don't the three of you go play video games while I get things ready? Johnny grabbed another cupcake and jammed it into his mouth. I don't want to play with them, Molly said. They cheat. We don't cheat. You just stink at it, Vinny said. Vinny, that's not a good thing to say, Miss Barker scolded. I could beat you if you didn't cheat, Molly declared. Vinny snapped his fingers over her nose. Ow! Miss Barker sighed. Molly, stay with me and help me get the sandwiches ready. You three get out of here. Go play with the PlayStation upstairs. Ian pulled the tissues from his nose. Mom, is my nose swollen? He asked. A little, maybe. It was an accident. Really? Johnny said. He turned to, and the two cousins followed Ian out of the kitchen. I seriously hate them, Molly said when they had disappeared upstairs. She rubbed her sore nose. Yes, they're difficult, her mom agreed. But as I said before, they have a pretty tough life. They're your only cousins, so... I know, said Molly, rolling her eyes. So we have to be nice to them. But why do they have to be such animals? Miss Barker didn't reply. She started to pull food from the fridge. Molly found the hamburger rolls and began to spread them over on a platter. The house was quiet for at least 5 minutes. Then Molly heard her mom, and her mom heard a loud shriek, shouts, hard thuds and thumps on the ceiling above their heads. One heavy thud shook the ceiling light. More angry shouts. What's happening up there? Molly cried. She and her mom went running to the stairs. Chapter 4. The screams grew louder as they raced to Ian's room. What's going on? Miss Barker shouted. Mr. Barker had run from the basement. He was standing in the bedroom doorway. A wrestling match, he reported, shaking his head. Johnny and Vinny are playing keep-away with the controller. Well, don't just stand there, George. Stop them, Miss Barker cried. Hey, guys, come on. No fighting. No fighting. Johnny sat on top of Ian, crushing Ian's chest under his bulk. Vinny waved the PlayStation controller in one hand. Ian swiped at it. Missed. All three boys turned when Miss Barker yelled at them. Ian is being a jerk, Johnny said. Get off me, you fat pig, Ian cried, shoving Johnny with all his strength. I can't breathe. Ian, don't call names on your birthday, his mom scolded. I told you they are animals, Molly said. You're not an animal, Vinny told her. You're an insect. She's not an insect, Johnny chimed in. She's insect larva. What exactly is the problem here? Ian's dad demanded. Can't you guys even play video games without fighting? Johnny finally climbed off Ian. Ian won't play fair, he said. That's a lie, Ian said, rubbing his crushed ribs. They are total cheaters. They want double turns. He grabbed for the controller, but Vinny tossed it across the room to Johnny. We don't have a PlayStation at home, Vinny explained, so we should get double turns. That's totally stupid, Ian said. The three boys all started shouting at once. Miss Barker stepped between them in the middle of the room. I know what, he said. Let's go downstairs and do birthday presents. I hope you won't fight over them, Ian's mom said, sighing. The boys grudgingly agreed, but Johnny and I still get another turn on the game, Vinny insisted. A few minutes later, they had gathered in the living room to give Ian his presents. Johnny and Vinny sprawled on the couch. Johnny grabbed a handful of peanuts from the bowl on the coffee table and tossed them one by one into his mouth. The ones he missed fell onto the carpet. Molly sat by the fireplace, straightening her hair with both hands. Ian dropped down on the floor. His mom handed him a box wrapped in red and white paper. This is from Vinny and Johnny, he said. It's the best present ever, Vinny said. If you don't want it, we'll take it back, Johnny added. Ian ripped away the wrapping paper. Hey, cool, a Star Wars robot. It's BB-8, Johnny said. It's remote controlled. Totally awesome. He goes all around the room, and you can make him say stuff, Vinny said. Ian started to pry open the box lid. Hey, the box has already been opened. He raised his eyes to his cousins. Yeah, well, Vinny said. He shrugged. Johnny and I played with it at home before we brought it. You know, we tested it out for you. Ian narrowed his eyes at Vinny. Tested it out. Sorry. It got a little scratched, Johnny said. Hope we didn't wear down the batteries too much. Well, it's way cool, Ian said. Thanks, guys. Ian's dad appeared, carrying a long black leather case by its handle, larger than a guitar case. It was battered and scratched and looked really old. Mr. Barker wore a wide, pleased grin. I think you're going to be surprised by this one, he told Ian. You've been waiting a long time for it. Ian lowered the case to the floor. It had a layer of dust over it, and it smelled kind of stale. He snapped the double clasps. The heavy lid didn't lift easy. He had to push hard with both hands. Inside the case, a wide-eyed figure grinned up at him, a ventriloquist dummy. The dummy had a large wooden head with dark brown hair painted over the top, big black eyes. The wood on his sharp nose had a small chip in it. His grinning mouth was painted bright red. He was dressed in a shabby gray suit. His white shirt had a stain on the collar. His red bow tie was crooked. The brown leather shoes on his feet were scuffed. "Wow!" Ian exclaimed. "Wow! A real dummy! Dad, you know I've been wanting one for years." Ian's parents both grinned happily. "Wow, this dude is kind of ugly," Ian said. "I mean, he looks like a bad boy. His face is almost evil." Mr. Barker reached down and helped Ian lift the dummy from the case. "His name is Slappy. There's an interesting story that goes with this dummy," he said. And that does it for this day's story, that is. So remember, you've got some questions to answer now, some activities to do. Go and do those. Do your best work. If you don't know the answer, guess what? Replay. You can hear the answer again. All right, guys. We'll see you tomorrow for Chapter 5.